The Health Secretary says the funding will also help advance AI diagnosis and personalised treatments, with research hubs being set up across UK universities. Wes Streeting says the investment could save lives while strengthening Britain's role as a leader in life sciences. I'm Lewis Mackenzie, and those have been your latest GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Monday's newspapers with three comedians. I'm Cressida Wetton, and joining me tonight, the unwise but not illegal combination of Josh Howie and Lewis Schaefer.
The boys are back in town.
They certainly are. How are you?
Well, you know, if anybody follows me on Twitter, I had a little incident yesterday after an earlier show, and I've got the bruises and the graze on my elbow to prove it.
How much detail you want to go into?
All right, I was mugged, basically.
Josh got mugged.
I got mugged. Were you mugged?
I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there and I saw it. No, I
ran away.
I think maybe you deserved it, really, enough at the...
Lewis Schaefer, for balance, I would like to say he absolutely didn't deserve it. Right, let's have a look at those front pages. The Daily Mail leads with Sue Gray fast shows PM's lack of judgment blasts Kemi. The Daily Telegraph leads with Sue Gray ousted as PM wields the knife. The Times has Gray ousted in Labour coup. There's a theme developing here. The Daily Mirror, it's been a year of hell, time to find peace. And The Eye has Gray ousted in Downing Street power struggle. And finally, the Daily Star, did you see that massive beaver? And those were your front pages. OK, let's have a closer look at the front pages, starting with Monday's Daily Mail, please.
Yeah, so like you say, the big story on all the pages. Meghan's got a new look. and she goes solo too. I'm looking at this, I can't see what the new look is. She looks the same, she looks like a very attractive woman. Can't
you see that her hair is curly in this? She's got wavy hair.
I can't see that. I just see...
She's normally got that very straight Pantene advert.
I see a very beautiful woman who has never fibbed. That's what I see when I look at that photo. In fact, if it's behind my head, if I sort of move my head like that, I can almost kiss... No, I'm going to lose. Anyway, the other big story, though. Sue Gray fast shows PM's lack of judgments blast Kemi. This is covered in all the other papers, so Sue Gray is now being sort of ousted by the ruthless Keir Starmer. She was brought in, to be fair, to help with the transition. Arguably, that's done. They're through their first 100 days. But what this is, in the Daily Mail, is really an appeal by Kemi Badenoch to say, vote for me,
yeah,
Tory members. She does say something quite interesting, though, that I didn't realise, was that when Kemi Badenoch, in her previous job, Sue Gray was one of her advisors and pressured her or something to drop the opposition to the SNP's Gender Recognition Act, which, as we know, went totally pear-shaped because it was like anybody, a 16-year-old, could be like, yeah, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a they, whatever it is, and then that was it in law. And that's arguably one of the things that brought down the SNP, even though they're still obviously in power in north of the border. And that's quite scary. Now, the question for me, I guess, would be whether Sue Gray ideologically believes that rubbish, or whether she was just doing it, going along with everything as people did at the time. Either way, it shows a bad sense of judgment. Kemi Badenoch saying, you know what, I knew she was wrong, I stood against it, and fair enough, she did.
I don't think we know anything about Sue Gray. I don't think we know, or I don't know anything about Sue Gray. And I know something about...
You don't read the article.
I read the article, but, you know, it's behind the scenes. I've seen Yes Minister, but that doesn't mean we know what's going on behind those scenes. This woman, she has destroyed two political parties. She brought down the Tories, the Conservatives, and she's bringing down... this story, you know, reminds me of Michael Ovitz. Do you remember Michael Ovitz? And he was a big Hollywood agent, and he was brought on by Michael Eisner to run the Walt Disney thing, Walt Disney Company. And after that, and he was there like for 16 months, and then they fired him, and he was like lost to the world. They basically
every analogy with you always comes back to Michael Ovitz.
Are you saying Sue Gray's going to be lost to the world? Is that where this is going?
Yeah, she's gone. She's
Well, no,
gone.
she's got
and
a
so
different
maybe,
job now.
So I'm just
Well, he only found out
postulating.
about her 7 minutes ago. So
Yeah. But I'm postulating. My gut feeling is that she was brought. Maybe she was brought in to destroy her.
what?
Maybe she's the #1 person in the whole government.
That's why the audience tune in. They are tuning in for your very ill-informed gut feeling.
I'm not
Yes,
even
it's
sure.
a comedy
Are you
program,
saying-
Josh.
So
I know.
Kemi says maybe Sue Gray was a Labour sleeper all along. Are you saying actually no? She's a Tory sleeper.
Oh.
Is that what you're saying?
No, she's somebody who probably has no ideology whatsoever, and Keir Starmer needed to destroy her in order to do his own thing.
Interesting.
I'm
Okay.
guessing that.
We've got to move on, Lewis. Let's have a look at the Telegraph, please.
Telegraph, more good news. This is more illegal alien migrants in the UK than anywhere in Europe, and this is in the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which is how much money is that? Is
Too much for us to afford.
£3.50.
Is
Get
three,
one.
what is £3?
And you get this show for free.
But you get a lot of news if you want to read news.
I don't get this for free. They have to pay me to turn up and listen to it.
And it says, according to the article, it says that because today was a busy day of people coming in, there were 973 people crossing the water to come into Britain. I mean, 4 of them died. So does that make it?
I think it makes it not the point, Lewis. This article is saying that there's 1 illegal migrant for every 100 people in the UK. That's mind-blowing.
That is mind-blowing.
Not immigrants, illegal ones.
Illegal, yeah, and that's more than Germany, which is about 700,000, more than France.
Yeah.
Arguably larger spaces, whether that counts or not mostly population, but larger spaces physically. But yes, 1 in 100. And the question is, why are these illegal immigrants going through all these other countries, these safe countries, and going and making a beeline for the UK? What is that? Why are this 1 in 100 people here for? Well, they're here for the gifts that our society provides them.
Well, and specifically, some newspapers have been reporting migrants getting off the boats and saying, cheers, Starmer, thanks for that.
Yeah, because now they can stay, and I mean, the thing is, the fact that, I've been here for 24 years now, and people didn't ask that question back in the day. They called anybody wanting to move to this country an asylum seeker, as if it's so horrible where they're from that they're seeking asylum here. And now they just say, well, this must be really good here. I don't like a confident British people. I like them to think, well, things must be really bad here for them. Maybe I don't care. But anyway, but you know what the other important news is? That people are unhealthy, according to the University of Oxford. Did you want to add something to that story?
No,
I didn't.
was just seeing where you were jumping off.
Yeah.
More health fun in case
and as I said, because when I said what I said, I'm not sure I believe what I said.
Well,
but
yeah, there's a big story. The next one is a big story. Baby boomers.
I'm going to say it. Yeah,
it's your
it
generation.
says according to the University of Oxford, which is that big university up in.
Yeah, I've
Oxford,
heard of it. Didn't get in.
Is that the baby boomers, of which I call myself a baby boomer, and they call me that too. They're fatter, sicker, weaker. They have more chronic disease, more obesity, more disability than people from an earlier generation.
Yeah, people who fought World War II.
The people who fought World War II, which is I don't know what those people were.
Well, they had
Heroes,
rationing.
heroes.
No wonder they were fitter and healthier. They didn't have enough nutrients, did they? Now we've got far too many.
No, that's not true. They didn't. The nutrients that people are eating today, as you can look at how great I look, is because they're eating more fruits and vegetables today. They're eating more. There are more vegans. There are more vegetarians. People are downing broccoli.
Oh, Liz, this is fascinating and a very hot take. We've got more NHS stuff coming up later on, and you might want to save this for later.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look at the Mirror, please, John.
Yeah, it's been a year of hell. Time to find peace. Now, I'm in two minds about this article. This is about a hostage, Emily, who has been Damari. She has dual citizenship, British and Israeli. She's been a hostage now for coming up to a year tomorrow. And this is an article about her mother, who was at the memorial today in Hyde Park in London, which I attended, and she gave an incredibly emotional speech. And I'm really, first of all, grateful that finally it seems like she's getting some coverage. As the British citizen who's been held in the most unbelievable conditions, we can't even imagine what she has been through and is going through. So I'm glad that the Mirror has put this on the front page. At the same time, what they say in the little box here, the mother called for an end to killing on all sides, whatever. Now, that is somewhat true, but that wasn't really what her speech is about. Everybody wants a stop to the killing of all sides, right? But what she really asked for was for this UK government to do everything it can to get one of our citizens back and free. And that's what she called for. And the idea that it was some sort of mealy-mouthed, everybody kumbaya, no. She is trying to save her daughter, and it was absolutely heartbreaking, and I was grateful to be there and see it.
Yeah, this is interesting that it's on the Mirror, isn't it, Lewis?
I don't know anything about it.
You don't know anything about it? OK, well, in that case, we'll move on. Let's have a look at this story instead, then. Finally, the Daily Star, Lewis. What sophisticated headline have they got?
That was a joke I made. Or an attempt at a joke. Or an attempt as an attempt
I can't be sure.
It was concise
Lewis, you've
political
got 20
commentary.
seconds to talk about this big beaver.
See that massive beaver. Giant beavers could be on the rampage of rivers near you because they want to bring the beavers back. It's just a play on words. It's called beavers because beavers stand for something.
Is this
in
Team World?
Country. No.
Death of Love?
Well, in a way, it is Team World. It's saying we don't need to produce food. We just have beavers, and beavers are better than food. They don't do anything. The beavers bring... Can you eat a beaver? When was the last time you ate?
Lewis Schaefer, right, that's it. That's the front pages out of the way, no more. Join us in part 2 for some Boris Johnson chat, the latest on the Tory leadership battle, and someone's got a new book coming out. Find out who after the break.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Sleep Report 2024 is based on a comprehensive survey conducted all across the country, and the report found that over half the population, get this, falls short of the recommended 7+ hours of required sleep each night. And shockingly, 1 in 4 of us is getting 5 hours or less, and that includes you, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm very bad at sleep. 4 or 5, I'd say.
That's
A bit like
awful.
Maggie Thatcher. What would you get on average?
I'd say at least 6. 7 probably average.
That's probably not good. I think you probably need 8. Well, almost half of Brits rate their sleep quality as 5 out of 10 or lower.
Dr Manesh Shah and Dr Sita Shah joins us now to tell us all about the sleep and how Brits are struggling. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
First question is to you both. How many hours do you both get?
God, I think it varies. I try and hit that 7 hours of sleep.
Why are Brits so bad at getting sleep, especially in terms of hours? 4 or 5 hours for me, 6 hours for you. It's the same for everybody out there in the UK. We're just not going to bed early enough. Is it as simple as that? Or is it slightly more complicated?
Yeah, so I think the key is to establish a good routine. So waking up at the same time every day, making sure that you're going to sleep at the same time every day, and being quite sort of rigid and strict with yourself when it comes to those timings.
And also, it's not just the length of, I get, say, 7 hours, it's the quality, isn't it? You've got different phases of sleep.
Yeah.
Just explain those. Is it, as far as I remember, REM, deep sleep? Just tell us about that.
Correct, yeah. So, essentially, there's 4 stages to sleep. So there's stage 1 and stage 2, which are your lighter stages of sleep. Then stage 3 is your deeper sleep. And then you've got the stage 4, which is your REM. Which is a rapid eye movement stage. And it's the stage 3 and the REM sleep which is really, really important for restorative and regenerative sleep.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Cressida Wetton, still here with Josh Howie and Lewis Schaefer. And we're starting with Monday's Telegraph and Boris Johnson making the case for a referendum. This feels horribly familiar, Josh.
Before we get to that, I just want to do a shout-out to Tufferman's. We saw their advert during the break, and I just want to say that looked like, if I had the space for a shelving unit...
What were they selling? Drills?
Shelving unit.
Tougher man thing.
It seemed like at very reasonable prices. Now, I don't know if this ad boycott thing is still going on, but I just want to say, for the people who do advertise with us, thank you very much. And that looked like a really good product. I have not been told to say that.
You know what, Josh? If you actually bought that, you would have space. So that was a really bad promotion.
No, I think I've doubled. Anyway, you're welcome, Tuffermans.
Does anyone have any views on what would happen if we...
Yes, and the reason why I told that article is because if we left this ECHR, I would not have been allowed to say that wonderful statement about Tuffermans. No Channel Migrant deal if UK quits ECHR, say Brussels sources. This is the ongoing saga of the ECHR. The only reason I know about it is because I've been forced to read about it. It's much more complicated than people think. But Boris Johnson is now saying, well, let's do a referendum. It's like, you know what? I don't want to hear the words, no offence, I know he's on GB News, but I just don't want to hear Boris Johnson and referendum put together again. Also, because it is such a complicated issue for people to then really have to get a grips on. Because
That's such a good point. I remember when we were trying to learn about Brexit, trying to get a handle on it and thinking, what are the consequences? What does it mean? And I don't want to go through all that
I don't want
again.
any more buses and all this kind of stuff. But there is an issue here. First of all, this is somewhat moot because Keir Starmer, who is in power for however many the next 5 years, has said, no, we're not leaving the... Anyway. But Brussels have basically said, if you want to talk about having some sort of migration deal, then that is like a non-negotiation. We have to stay in the EHR. The ironic thing is that many countries in Europe now actually are having their own issues with their ECHR because migration is becoming a real problem across the continent.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's my take.
Well, the point is, you don't need to have any deal or kind of deal. Is that Britain could stop? Why do we have to have a deal with them? We need gunships in the Channel, which are going to shoot at any boats coming, and it will stop boats from coming. That's all you need to do.
That's a very radical position, Lewis.
I didn't say I believed in that, but that's an option.
Now, can I just say something? I'm trying to help this channel. I'm trying to get advertisers in, get us more money, and Lewis is trying to get us a big old fine from Ofcom. Lewis, we've got to work together. We've got to go in the same direction here.
People want to hear the truth. The truth is, you don't need to make any deal with France, the arrogant France who thinks that there's somebody over there. They thought they were the EU. They're not the EU. They're a dead country. And Germany is a dead country. The economy for those places are crumbling, and the people are being taken over. We should just speak the truth.
That is such an extraordinary statement. I don't know where to begin.
Which one?
France is a dead country.
France is not arrogant.
France is a dead country. When they have a guy in the middle like Macron who doesn't have any power base whatsoever, start talking as if he's Mr. EU. He was once Mr. EU, but
he's still the leader of France.
Yes, of France, of tiny little France off the coast of America.
Should hear what they say about you. Right, we've got to get on with this. Independent now.
Is that too
James
much?
Cleverly's had a nice week, hasn't he, Lewis?
According to this is the Independent, which is not a newspaper. It's a website. It used to be a newspaper. They used to print up a copy and paper, but it's not paper.
You used to be a comedian, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I take responsibility for my own failure. They should say we're not a newspaper and we shouldn't be. Don't take his side. James Cleverly overtakes Robert Jenrick in Tory leadership race. New post-conference survey suggests, and it says that James Cleverly would beat Robert Jenrick. But the truth is, he's not even. Robert Jenrick is not the main guy, and that doesn't mean Cleverly's the main guy. The main guy is supposedly Kemi Badenoch.
He's not even a guy.
Yeah, well, I'm from New York. We'd call her a guy. So the truth is that it's like this is like Jimmy Carter, and people like he's 100 years old. I remember when Jimmy Carter was fighting.
Everything ends in some American analogy with you.
Yeah, because you learn from analogies. The truth is, we're in a state of emergency right now. We got 1,000 people in boats coming. We got millions of people in this country who hate this country. We're going to be at war with those countries down there, Iran, and we need, and the Tories are not even like the Tories anymore.
We're not going to be in war with Iran, but I do agree that we're somewhat in a state of emergency because we have a Labour government who are making some missteps, and any healthy democracy needs a healthy opposition, and that's not what we have at the moment. This stupid leadership contest has gone on way too long, and there needs to be someone strong, who can hold Labour to account, whether or not you're a Labour supporter or not.
It went on way too long in the first week. It's been on week after week. They're doing this thing because they want to have an American system. They like the ideas. Look, I'm being well known in the whole thing. That's not how the British system works.
Yeah.
And the Tories are not the party for us. I don't think. I'm not even us.
Don't even vote.
Well,
don't even
they're
vote.
Still they're a big deal, Lewis. The leadership contest is very important in this country.
If the Tories were important, but the Tories don't.
They are important. You can't say they're not important. They're still going to be the opposition for the next 5 years.
How do you know? How do you know they're going to be the opposition for the next 5 years?
It's my strongly held opinion.
Well, because they've got 70 seats or have 110 seats in the thing. Oh my God, this is the worst show I've ever done.
That's not true. I could refer you to several that were far more traumatic. We're in The Guardian next.
Why don't you tell me, Lewis, it's comedy?
Why don't you learn to shut up when I start talking?
Why don't you tell me? You're the leader.
I have requested a shock collar for you on this show. They won't let me have it.
I went way too far.
Closer, right? We're in The Guardian now. And Josh, President Macron wants to know, hey guys, why can't we all just get along?
It's a comedy show, Jack.
Okay, it's a comedy show. I want to be funny about countries here trying to eradicate Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. I'm going to be real funny about this. Netanyahu hits out at Macron over call for halt to arms exports to Israel. So essentially what it is Israel now taking care of Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon. France has connections in Lebanon, and now France said, "Oh, fine, America should stop selling weapons to Israel," whilst Israel finds itself fighting on 7 different fronts. And brilliantly, Netanyahu, who I've not historically been a fan of, but I've got to be honest, he's gone up in my estimation over the last couple of weeks with the destruction of Hezbollah, has basically just put out this amazing video that just says, "We don't need you." And in fact, you are shamed. This is shameful that you are not supporting us, a Western democracy, in our hour of need. And I totally agree with him. And, Macron, everything that Lewis said about your country, I agree with.
So we're back to Macron's leader of a dead nation, Lewis.
He's leader of a dead nation.
And they are arrogant.
You have to understand what this guy is. You know what Ronald Reagan said? You have to speak, or maybe it was Margaret Thatcher, one of those two. You got to speak in bold. One of those people said, you got to live and speak in bold colors. And Macron does not speak in bold colors because he's not here and he's not there. He's right, whatever he is. He doesn't.
But Bibi Netanyahu or whatever, yeah.
He speaks in bold. He speaks in bold colors.
Very bold.
And the truth is that France has got 20-30% of the population are people who hate Israel. So he's got to deal with those people. So he's in a delicate thing. Yeah. So there's nothing that Netanyahu can do.
And I just want to say one more thing here. When he talks about, in his shameful speech, Macron, he's saying, we want to return to a political solution. This is a massive misreading of the ability. There's no political solution with Islamic fundamentalists. They're mental. It's in the name.
Comedy, Josh.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Comedy now. Go back.
Well, I want to push back on that, but it's very difficult, isn't it? I don't know how you negotiate with...
Nutters.
They're not even nutters. They just have a side that they're not going to back down on. Well, they have a perfect right to demand their own state, to live in the place that their ancestors.
Yeah, but that's not what Hezbollah is all about. They're not asking for their own state. All they're asking for is the destruction of Israel.
And that's part of their whole worldview. So why shouldn't they be able to live their lives like that?
You're so sort of live and let live, aren't you, Lewis?
I'm not. Yeah. I'm just saying. No, I'm with you. I agree with you. But I think you have to take that into account.
I'm not sure you do. Right, sticking with The Guardian and a story about the lack of GP appointments available. No doubt you've got some ideas about how to fix this, Lewis, but perhaps you could just tell us the news first.
The news first. Thank you very much, Cressida. I see you being trained. You're trying to train me into GP care analysis cast out on Labour pledge to bring back the family doctor. And what they're saying is this survey that was done by somebody, by Frontier Economics, whatever that is. It said people are being pushed away. They can't go to the GP because the wait is too long. So they're being told to go to the pharmacy or go speak to a nurse or go speak to some physiotherapist. And the truth is that people it's a two-pronged problem. One, people, that there's a problem getting the doctor. And the second problem is that doctors don't have any answers for anybody anymore because people have type 2 diabetes because they're fat and bloated and out of shape and don't have a proper diet. So when they go to the GP, what is the GP going to do? They're going to say, just go here or go there. And there's just long delays.
Well, I do have a lot of sympathy for GPs, having to see people who aren't necessarily helping themselves.
Yes, there is that.
Obviously, Ozempic's going to save the world in a minute and we're all going to be fit and healthy like magic. But, Wes Streeting this week has been saying, hasn't he, that's not the answer. People have got to take some responsibility for their own health.
But making this promise to bring back the family doctor is a silly promise because it isn't necessarily needed. The work needs to go to who needs it. Now, I don't need to see a GP to get if, for example, if I had a verruca. I'm not saying I do, but if I had a verruca, I don't need a GP for piles. If I had piles, I could go, I could go if my wee was burning, I wouldn't have to see a GP necessarily.
Yes, you would, and this is where you're wrong.
That's all hypothetical.
This is where you're wrong.
I just want to be very clear.
Somebody called GPs the best. What do they call that thing where it's like a prophylactic? It's like a prophylactic. It makes people feel better. You go there, you got a verruca, and the doctor says, "Okay,
I can see a specialist. I can see a nurse. I can see whatever.
They don't want you to see a specialist.
Anyway, if someone
They do want you to. You mean you're sort of going up the food chain to somebody more specialised?
Yes.
But Josh's point is that there's lots of things that can be dealt with further down the pecking order. Sorry, that's not a very nice way to say it.
But I mean, Lewis, what would someone do with burning wee?
With burning wee, they would change their diet. Like what happened to me is they'd go off of a plant-based diet. They would eat a carnivore, meat-based diet, meat and eggs, and their pee would stop burning.
So you don't think it's anything sexual?
You know what? If it still exists after a month or two, then you go.
If you've been affected by any of the issues on this programme, websites are available. Time for a break now. Don't go anywhere in the next section. We'll be finding out why baked beans have become controversial, why women are having a hard time at work, I can tell you that, and which American city has had a glow-up. See you in 2.
That was very good.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we go ahead into Monday, the rain should be clearing, then sunshine and showers for many of us before turning colder later into the week. So the unsettled conditions are all to do with this area of low pressure out towards the west and these fronts driving cloud and rain. So there could be some early evening sunshine towards the southwest, but otherwise cloud and rain continuing to move its way north and eastwards, affecting much of Scotland to start Monday morning. Clearer skies behind that, turning drier. We'll still see a few showers around, but temperatures generally staying up at around 10 or 11 degrees. So it is going to be a damp and gloomy start across Scotland. We've got outbreaks of rain persisting. This will gradually move its way northwards. We've also got a strong easterly wind as well, giving a chilly feel to start the day. Cloudy conditions remaining across Northern Ireland with some showery outbreaks of rain here and pushing into northwestern parts of England. Further towards the south, hopefully waking up to some brighter skies, but also there are going to be some showers around. So that band of rain across Scotland will gradually move its way northwards, affecting much of Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, it's a case of sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of these could be heavy, containing the odd rumble of thunder, perhaps emerging to give some longer spells of rain at times too. But where you do dodge the showers, we'll see temperatures rising up to 17, possibly 18 degrees towards the south, but unpleasant towards the north. Further spells of heavy rain moving their way northwards across Northern Ireland and into Scotland, and then towards the south through Tuesday, another cluster of showers. Again, could be on the heavy side. Some places may dodge these to see some sunny spells, and that continuing through Wednesday too. But as we go later on in the week, it is going to be turning colder from the north. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Opening this section with a story demonstrating that people can get very sensitive about weddings. This is in The Independent.
Yes, in The Independent, which is a non-newspaper. They don't print they don't print anything, so you can't call them a
Groundhog Day.
Byline Times prints more stuff than this.
Just tell
Read
the
the
story.
headline.
I'm getting there. You interrupted me, Josh. Story 10. Heinz apologizes after new ad featuring black family sparks outrage. Basically, because they had a white mother. It was an interracial thing, which is not good enough for people anymore. They want to have. What happened was there was a white mother and a white father for the man, but the woman who was black only had the mother there. They didn't have a black mother, and so there was a lot of
They
complaint.
didn't have a black father.
Black father, right? Thank you.
And this is all assumption, because these people don't have labels on them. But
They don't have label. This is the father. It could be just three. What I think it is a breakdown in the extra casting or the supporting artists and the film. You know, maybe the person who was going to be the father didn't show up that day. So they said, what are we going to do? Well, we'll have to pretend that everything's okay.
Or maybe the budget was too low.
Or maybe the budget was too low. And you can't believe that Heinz, even though the person who is that guy, John Terry. Remember John Terry, who's Mr. Climate Change guy. His wife is one of the owners
Keep the
of
story,
Heinz.
keep the story.
Keep the story. Okay, but the point is, this wasn't in a newspaper. It was just on Twitter. It's a nothing.
Well, no, but the complaints are on Twitter, and Heinz has apologised and all of this stuff. But it was based on the whole theme of these adverts was it was based on a true story, right? So people are saying this plays into the tropes of absent black fathers. But there's a few interesting things. If it's based on a true story, maybe the father was dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe, actually, he wasn't part of this woman's life. Or, as is pointed out, according to this photo, it could be that the white older man was actually the father just because of the way of the sitting. I was just happy
genetics could
to
be.
see a white guy in an advert. Shows that maybe I'm going to get some work in the future.
Here is the point. The point is, people have the internet now, so it's so easy to complain. How would we even know this was a complaint back in the day? How would you'd have to have somebody out there with a placard saying we saw this ad and we're unhappy. No one would have known that anyone was unhappy about this before the internet.
Anyway, the point is, if Heinz is going to do any true stories, adverts in the future, just make sure that it doesn't conform to, gosh forbid,
well, that's what you're saying, isn't it? You're sort of saying there's one way and no other, and if we don't see that, there's going to be trouble, which is very troubling.
Yeah.
OK, The Guardian next, and a story about the miracle that is my career, Josh.
Indeed, young British women struggle more than men to progress at work. Study suggests, by the way, no proof, suggests women aged 18 to 30 are more likely to feel money issues, not experience money issues, feel money issues, because women feel more, right? This is a story based on feeling, but actually it gets quite offensive, I believe so, because what it says is that it basically, through statistics, kind of proves that women are, or men, it's not that women are necessarily worse at saving, but it's like that says just that men are better at saving or allocating their money. And it's like you're blaming this feeling because men are better at saving money is the gist of the article. And it was very upsetting.
Not the point. That is not the point.
Lewis, you're not good at saving money, so are you offended by Josh's...
I'm not. No, but that's not what I was thinking about. I was thinking, men know we have to work. We know we're useless. Nobody wants to hang out with a broke guy. But women who are beautiful, like our host here, this is a
hobby for you, Cressida.
Yeah, it's a hobby. That's what they think. They think their princess is going to come along and give them money. This is what they're hoping for. So any job that a woman does is going to be bothersome to a woman.
That's a much more offensive take than mine.
That's so deeply offensive. And as usual with you, there's a grain of truth in it. I mean, Warren Farrell's written about this. No, I can back it up. I've done some reading. And the problem is that historically men have had no choices.
Yeah.
It's like, go to work, that's your choice. You know, childcare for men wasn't an option. Nowadays, women do have a choice, but people they kind of want to have everything, don't they? And it's no surprise that the gender pay gap, if you believe in it, is bigger between the ages of 30 and 39. I wonder why that is. I wonder what's going on at that time. And it's a choice, isn't it? You can't do everything.
I know, but this sentence here is the one that really... Young women are also more likely to have taken on new debt in the past 12 months than young men and save less. So this is what it is. So they're saying that women are spending more of their income and saving less. And then they're feeling afterwards like they have more financial concerns. Yes, save more, spend less.
Yeah. And the truth is that young women between the ages of 20 and 30 make more money than men nowadays.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're right. We're all right. Women bad.
OK, we're in the Telegraph next, learning about America's most dysfunctional city from its most maladjusted former citizen, Lewis Schaefer.
Oh, this is me. America's most dysfunctional city has finally come to its senses. This is story number 12 in the Telegraph, which is a real newspaper, and I think you get good value, even though it's £3.50 for an issue.
It's a very good newspaper.
It's not that good, but
No,
it's not as good as they think they are, or we think we are.
No one's as
they
good
think
as
they
think,
are.
yeah.
But they will be good when the people...
What do they think about this story?
Oh, yeah.
They think, this is an article by somebody who went to Portland after they were there in the past 2 years ago, and they'd been away, and they came back, and they found it cleaner and nicer because it used to be a hellhole. It was a lovely... I've never been to Portland, but I've been to other places in Oregon, and it's a lovely state. It used to be a lovely state filled with lovely people.
Can you just explain that Portland is the kind of Brighton of
now
America?
It is.
No. In terms of incredibly liberal governance. Yeah. And at the time, a few years ago, in the post-BL Black Lives Matter movement, defunding the police, decriminalising hard drugs, led to just people dying in the streets from fentanyl. And people defecating in the streets.
And they didn't do anything about it. And they declared certain areas of it off limits, or they were like for homeless people, and the place became really run down.
And then they realised it didn't work.
And it didn't.
Surprise.
But you know what? I think what happens is like a city like Portland, it was never bad. And then they thought to themselves, look, New York City was bad, and it came back. Maybe we can get bad and then come back.
I guess
you think we planned it all along?
Yeah, you know what? And you don't realise a lot of people wanted, like this city, wanted to be a city like New York. They didn't like the idea that it was peaceful and loving. They wanted the city to be a 24-hour city, and that brings problems.
Yes. OK, moving to The Guardian and a story about getting parents who can't take care of their kids to pay for them. Josh, how is this going to work?
Yes, not very well. English Council may ask parents of children taken into care to pay half the costs. There is somewhat of a crisis in this country because local councils are now paying for children's services and also adult services, and those bills are going ever up and up because they've been outsourced to private companies who are making a profit and charging arguably a fortune, and then they're spending huge amounts of our council tax now at a local level on all of this stuff. This council here, Derbyshire Authority, are saying, you know what, if you've got your kid into care by voluntary, not if they've been like abused or anything, but if this is a voluntary thing, you should chuck £100 or so a week. That sounds like possibly reasonable or not. The point is, it's going to, if it only applies to like 28 families, or it would raise £100,000 a year, which is nothing compared to the £13 million overspend. So seems a very punitive way of actually achieving nothing.
And the people who are getting this services probably don't have anything, which is why their kids are so ratty, and they need to be taken into care.
People with mental health, learning disabilities.
So £113 or £90, it doesn't seem like much to you, Josh.
No, it seems like everything to me. No, it's Cresta. She's the one who gets paid all the money.
No, she would complain no matter how much money she was, because she's a woman.
She spends it, though. She doesn't save it.
Back to the news.
Back to the news.
This seems like the majority of people who it would apply to would probably be too vulnerable or poor, or likely that they wouldn't be able to pay it anyway. So is there some kind of preventative aspect to that?
No,
I don't really see how they think it's going to work.
They just want to make a scene. This is what I think. I think I know how a council works. They want to make a scene, so when they don't get the money, they can say, "You see, we asked for it, but central authority won't let us do it, or they won't do it, so we have to ask you for more council taxes."
Performative, interesting. OK, closing this section with the Daily Mail and a proposal to moderate youthful exuberance for the greater good, Lewis.
Yes, this is the Daily Mail, which is a newspaper. This is story 14. It says Lewis right here. I like saying that, Josh.
Let's get on with the story.
Nobody cares. It's 11 o'clock.
No, they really do care. They get their news from us.
No, they don't.
They do. People are waking up also at 5 a.m. They are getting news.
How many?
They don't want to know that the Express is a newspaper. They know that.
They don't want to see you getting so excited.
No, they do. It's waking them up.
No,
Lewis,
that's what they want.
There are some people on Twitter who feel very much the way Josh has just spoken there.
Well, if you enjoy what I'm saying, and I'm slow.
He's not saying anything.
You can't be too slow because we've only got a couple of minutes. You've got to get on with it. it.
What if we don't cover this story? Let's say we don't cover it.
No, do it. It's an important story.
It isn't that important.
Yes, it is.
Josh,
It
would
isn't.
you read the
No, I'm going to
headlines,
say
please?
teenage drivers could. You want to read the story? Teenage drivers could be banned from giving lifts to their young friends for the first 6 months on the road under new restricted license proposals. So what's happening is that people, 17-year-olds who are getting their license for the first time, say, tend to be a bit more reckless at 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds. So they're saying for the first 6 months, you can drive whatever you want to drive, but you can't drive your friends.
Because there's lots of people who have died in these incidents, and it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I remember I got my license in 17. I drove through central London, my lights off in the middle of the night. I didn't figure that out. I drove down the A40 down in the wrong direction because I came off a roundabout wrong. You're 17, you're stupid, you're not comfortable with the road yet.
Well,
and I think this is brilliant.
Unfortunately, I'm from a rural area. I know of several families who've lost people to exactly this. Very young people, overexcited new car, let's go. And when there's multiple young people in the car, sometimes there is a sort of showing off element.
Yeah.
Don't want to victim blame here, it's a very sensitive subject. But I think this is quite sensible.
It sounds sensible. I will say why it's not sensible. It's part of the anti-car thing. They don't want people to drive. They want to take away our cars. They want to enslave us in these 15-minute communities, 15-minute slums, and they don't want us to
I don't
drive.
think
I
it's
think you're
6 month
wrong
delay.
about that. I think occasionally something good comes along, and this is good.
Yeah,
and
totally.
This will make
Yeah.
cars. This will reduce the problems with cars.
I will agree with you, but I can't because I know this is the kind of thing this sounds perfect. And when you
I wish I cut you off just to agree with you. That would have been perfect. OK, that's the end of part 3. Come back in the final section to get my panel's hot take on hot flushes, a solution for fear of the dentist, and you might not want to send Christmas cards this year. You'll find out why after the break.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're joined by Lewis Oakley and Esther Stanhope. And Lewis, let's start with free gear Keir, shall we? It's been the story of the week, and apparently it's led to, well, calamity in the polls.
Yeah, so he has dropped by 26 points in the opinion polls. And, I mean, it's just been sort of going down from day one. He didn't even start that high. But, yeah, this is just bad optics. As we say, like, he hasn't done anything illegal or wrong. Everything was declared. But at the same time, you're telling people they don't get their winter fuel allowance and you're there walking off with your swag bag. It's just not a good look. And even, I was thinking as well, the optics of them trying to clamp down on MPs having second jobs. Any of those could turn around and say, well, actually, we have to pay for our own clothes. I just think it's just bad optics that he's had. And, we've got those comparisons of Sunak in the stands. He's just sat amongst the people. And
Prince William goes to Villa games, albeit in the director's box, but it's not an 8k per game seat. And by the way, can I just mention, this isn't just an isolated Labour incident. Since the start of their tenure, they were accused of filling the civil service with previous Labour donors, previous Labour aides, people who worked for Labour Together think tank. The civil service is meant to be politically neutral, and they bypassed a lot of procedures to get people into their positions, not least the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who parachuted Ian Caulfield, his name was, who donated $5 grand personally to her, and then he ended up in the Treasury with a 175k a year job. Yes, he did resign after it was revealed in the Times, but it does make you wonder, you've spent years having a go at the Tories for this, and you do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's full of hypocrisy, and also the whole Sue Gray thing, and they were slagging off the Conservatives for not towing the line, and now they're being hypocrites because now they're taking freebies.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, opening the final section with the Times and news about menopause. I'm delighted we've got two men here to sort this one out. Josh.
Indeed, the row over HRT and menopause dividing the medical world. This was a Panorama investigation to Dr. Louise Newson, and she basically says she gives herself 300 milligrams, which is 3 times the recommended amount of HRT, which is a combination of 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Now, as my wife is on these
Don't
drugs,
say that. That's so rude.
No, she's a very big exponent of it. She thinks it's, you know, they're arguably life-saving drugs in terms of keeping her mentally sane
So
and
is the idea that if you
regulated.
Going through the menopause, you start to get
you take this
something that's
replacement.
like PMT, you start to go a bit crazy, you get hot all the time, you're unhappy,
Yeah.
and then this stuff prevents that.
Yeah, it prevents that.
Or postpones it?
No, postpones it. No, so when you do, by the time you're regulated, you, I guess, could come
You're
off
not
it.
regulated.
But what
It's not
she's,
there's no
but what this is
regulation.
the point is, I think it's a miracle drug for men. In terms of, like, not having your wife being angry at you all the time. It's brilliant. I think my wife would agree. But what this is about is the dosage. Now,
yes.
This doctor here is saying that there aren't the trials on it. She doesn't just give people who come to her 8 clinics the maximum amount. They have the regular amount, and then they test their blood and see, because it's all in a gel, how fat is their skin or hairier their arms or whatever it is.
What you put on the skin doesn't get
Yes,
in.
essentially, and then she adjusts accordingly. I think that seems sensible, but it's kicked off a big hoo-ha. The point is, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant drug.
I think somebody's got to defend women on this. I think it's part of the whole hysterical, that you're hysterical, which comes from hysterectomy and whatever. It's you're saying women aren't good enough because they need to be the proper. We got to check their women's balances because they tend to be moody. So we'll give them this.
You're the one who checks your balance every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know about
but
this.
I don't take any medication for it, and that's. I mean, I do take a bit of heroin and some cocaine. The cocaine picks me up, but I'm regulated with heroin and cocaine.
Oh, Lewis, look,
You're
I know
too fat
what
for cocaine. I mean, heroin.
PMT is real, right? It makes us feel more full of rage than
Yes, so
usual.
why should we give you
know how all
medication
women are? Because if we could make that go away, we could get on with other stuff.
Well, we can
and be
make it
more
go away by
productive.
eliminating women in the world. Maybe have separate places.
Yeah,
for
that would
women.
work for one generation.
Or maybe
Brilliant.
women-
OK, Lewis, we're in the Star next.
Was
I
that
can't
bad?
remember if you believe in dentists or not, but does this sway you?
I don't. I do believe in dentists, but they need to be used about 3% of the time. They don't need to be used for cavities. This is.
There's a man who doesn't brush his teeth.
Yes, I'm going to get to that. It's the inside world of the first MAID dental clinic. MAID, M-A-I-D, dental clinic, as male punters say it takes the fear away. This is in Japan, and it's a dental clinic where the doctors, the nurses get dressed up as, or the nurses get dressed up as, or maybe the dentists, female dentists, they get dressed up as maids, and it makes them calmer.
Anime and manga characters.
And manga characters. This has more to do with how mental the Japanese are with this whole maids and mental. I've seen.
That's very culturally sensitive, Josh.
Well, this is just it's a
true.
fetish. And then you got blokes, I imagine, going along saying, "Oh, God, I was about to do a Japanese accent there." I was that close to
Someone
being
in my ear
cancelled.
just said 2:30. I think we've got 2.5 minutes. Or that was a very funny joke from the
Oh,
gallery. I don't know.
that is very funny. OK, I got nearly in trouble there.
The point is, if you're watching this, I have not brushed my teeth in over 4 years.
We know.
I
OK.
can confirm that.
Yeah.
Moving to the Guardian.
And you don't need a dentist. You don't need a dentist. If you
I'd argue that
eliminate
you do.
carbs, sugar.
Moving to the Guardian, and an excellent excuse for anyone who doesn't like sending Christmas cards, Josh.
Yes, UK charities fear first-class stamp rise. Price rise will mean fewer Christmas cards sent. So this is a very tenuous thing, like in the 4 months before Christmas. This is the 4th increase in a few years. It's now £1.65 to do a first-class stamp. That's a lot of money. But then the second-class one, which most of the time usually gets to the next day anyway, don't tell anyone, is only 85p and has stayed the same price. So even if so to make that connection to, first of all, that there would be less Christmas cards. No, if you're going to send a Christmas card, and you're all, like the kind of person who's organised enough and anal enough to like have a Christmas list and have everybody's addresses and write it out and do all that, I guarantee they're the type of people who will send it in time to get there. They won't need to send it first class, number one. So then, to make the next connection The Guardian does, which is that there's going to be less Christmas cards, so there's going to be less charity money from charity Christmas cards, is like, Guardian, man, sort your life out.
Go and do some charity. We can carry on with this. We've got 1 minute to do the last story of the evening.
Oh, yeah.
Story 18, Lewis. I wouldn't want to deprive you of this.
World's weirdest octopus. Should we be doing this?
Read the headline.
World's weirdest octopus detaches penis arm for sex, and it grows twice its size. So it has a penis, it's an octopus, and it takes its penis off to impregnate a woman octopus.
Why does it do it? It's scared of the females because it thinks that women are horrible.
Horrible. No, it is. This woman is horrible because I think it's 5 times the size of the male, because this is one of those things.
That's very sensible to me. Josh, have you got any thoughts?
Don't give him. He's happily
but you
married.
detach it off and then it comes back on and whatever, and it holds its bit, not bits.
It doesn't come
It holds its sperm in its arm, and it just sort of throws the arm, and then the woman just goes.
Amazing.
There you go. Then it's pregnant.
Okay, the
Nature's
show
beautiful.
is nearly
Comedy,
over.
Josh.
Let's take
This is
another
a
quick
comedy.
look at Monday's front pages. The Daily Mail leads with Sue Gray fast shows PM's lack of judgment blasts Kemi. The Daily Telegraph has Sue Gray ousted as PM wields the knife. The Times has Gray ousted in Labour coup. The Daily Mirror has It's been a year of hell, time to find peace. The Eye has Gray ousted in Downing Street power struggle. And finally, the Daily Star. Did you see that massive beaver? And those were your front pages. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests, Josh Howie and Lewis Schaefer.
Thank you, Chris.
They'll both be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. when Simon Evans will have the pleasure of running the show. If you're watching at 5 a.m, please stay tuned for breakfast. Good night.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we go ahead into Monday, the rain should be clearing, then sunshine and showers for many of us before turning colder later into the week. So the unsettled conditions are all to do with this area of low pressure out towards the west and these fronts driving cloud and rain. So there could be some early evening sunshine towards the southwest, but otherwise cloud and rain continuing to move its way north and eastwards, affecting much of Scotland to start Monday morning. Clearer skies behind that, turning drier. We'll still see a few showers around, but temperatures generally staying up at around 10 or 11 degrees. So it is going to be a damp and gloomy start across Scotland. We've got outbreaks of rain persisting. This will gradually move its way northward. We've also got a strong easterly wind as well, giving a chilly feel to start the day. Cloudy conditions remaining across Northern Ireland with some showery outbreaks of rain here and pushing into northwestern parts of England. Further towards the south, hopefully waking up to some brighter skies, but also there are going to be some showers around. So that band of rain across Scotland will gradually move its way northwards, affecting much of Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, it's a case of sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of these could be heavy, containing the odd rumble of thunder, perhaps emerging to give some longer spells of rain at times too. But where you do dodge the showers, we'll see temperatures rising up to 17, possibly 18 degrees towards the south, but unpleasant towards the north. Further spells of heavy rain moving their way northwards across Northern Ireland and into Scotland, and then towards the south through Tuesday, another cluster of showers. Again, could be on the heavy side. Some places may dodge these to see some sunny spells, and that continuing through Wednesday too. But as we go later on in the week, it is going to be turning colder from the north. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 7 o'clock. I'm Lewis Mackenzie here in the GB newsroom. So Keir Starmer's facing fresh turmoil as his Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, has resigned. Her exit follows reports of tension in Number 10, including with the Prime Minister's Chief Advisor, Morgan McSweeney, who's now stepping into her role. Conservative leadership contender Robert Jenrick says her departure exposes vicious Labour infighting and claims the government is in freefall. In a response, Downing Street has announced 5 new senior appointments, with Sir Keir Starmer insisting the changes will strengthen his team as he approaches 100 days in office. The Prime Minister has raised concerns that the sparks of war in the Middle East are igniting tensions at home, with a sharp rise in hate crimes against Jews and Muslims. Writing in the Sunday Times, he also raised fears of a direct conflict between Iran and Israel, which he says could have catastrophic global consequences. The PM's warning comes as Israel expands its airstrikes in Lebanon. Massive consecutive strikes have hit Beirut's southern suburbs, with Israel claiming its forces have killed 440 Hezbollah fighters in its ground operation in the south of the country. A record-breaking 973 migrants crossed the English Channel in a single day. According to the official figures, they arrived in 17 small boats, surpassing the previous record of 882 set in June of this year. Yesterday's surge also came as 4 migrants, including a young child, sadly died making the journey. The total so far this year is now 26,000. Russia has launched more than 80 drones and 3 missiles at Ukraine in a significant overnight attack. It comes as President Zelensky prepares to unveil a victory plan during a crucial allies meeting in Germany on the 12th of October. This plan is expected to detail steps towards ending the war with Russia. While specifics remain under wraps, US officials suggest it includes a revised request for an increased military support and long-range missile systems. As Ukraine nears 1,000 days of conflict with Russia, Boris Johnson says the Russian president is bad, not mad. In a candid interview with GB News' Camilla Tominey, the former Prime Minister shed some light on his interactions with Vladimir Putin, providing a glimpse into their complex relationship.
He means no good for this country. He regards the United Kingdom as among their most important strategic foes, probably their most important strategic foes, which is a pity, but he's chosen that path. And we're now in a very, very unhappy position. And you know, what he is doing in Ukraine is criminal, and it is also a mistake. It's a mistake for Russia, it's a mistake for Putin.
And finally, a new blood test that can detect 12 common cancers is getting a major boost, thanks to a £148 million investment in cutting-edge medical technologies. The Health Secretary says the funding will also help advance AI diagnosis and personalised treatments, with research hubs set up across UK universities. Wes Streeting, himself a cancer survivor, says the investment could save lives while strengthening Britain's role as a leader in life sciences. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
The UK government gives away some islands, non-binaries get angry when asked what sex they are, and the Home Office goes after some sexist schoolboys. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. This is the show where we take a look at culture, current affairs and politics, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. Brendan O'Neill, the chief political writer at Spiked, will be joining me to talk about his new book that documents the reaction to the October 7th attacks on Israel 1 year on. A free speech row has broken out at Durham University as the student union has banned its debating society from taking part in the Freshers' Fair. Stephen O'Grady from the Free Speech Union will be here to talk about that case, and I'll be speaking to Dr. Heather Ryan, who will be joining me to talk about the role of physician associates in the NHS, as concerns are raised over the safety of patients. And of course, I've got a wonderful comedian panel here to answer questions from our lovely studio audience. And my comedian guests this evening are Josh Howie and Jojo Sutherland. Jojo, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
You
Lovely
seem
to be back.
spending more time in England than Scotland these days.
I am. I think I'm more down south.
Yes, you're turning your back
Yes,
on your
I have,
native
yes.
land.
Yeah.
It's
too cold.
It is cold,
It's
to
too
be
cold
fair.
and wet.
It is. I miss it. I think it's lovely up there.
No, it is lovely.
It is.
But I drove the whole way today.
Did you?
Yeah, 6.5 hours.
Get around so much, don't you? And you're gigging while you're down.
I'm gigging. Yeah. I'm here. I'm London, Manchester, Warrington, Liverpool, back to Edinburgh.
You never stop. I don't know how you do it. And Josh, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not doing much.
You're not doing much, that's right. By comparison, not very much. Although you were on the commemorative march today.
It was a memorial in Hyde Park. It was 30,000 Jewish people and allies. Yeah. Considering there's about 250,000 Jews in the UK, that's a significant amount. Came out. Yes. And it was great. It was very emotional. There was people talking, including the mother of one of the hostages. She's a British citizen, dual citizenship, and we just don't hear about her in the media at all. She's been held for a year. Yes. By rapist terrorists, and no one talks about it.
Well, I think it's fair to say the media has been pretty negligent when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Not GB News!
Not GB News. I was clearly intimating all the other channels, except for this one. But I'm going to be speaking to Brendan O'Neill later about his book on the subject as well, so stick around for that. But first, let's get some questions from the audience. Our first question is coming in from Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Andrew. Should we be concerned about the increase in the far right in Austria?
Yes, so this is the Freedom Party, Austria's Freedom Party, which has won 28.9% of the vote, which is almost 3 points ahead of the Conservative People's Party on 26.3. But, Josh, it is the case, isn't it, that it's one of these coalition situations, because the Conservatives who were runner-up, they don't want to do a coalition with the Freedom Party. But there seems to be a lot of cases where you have these parties, like Meloni in Italy, like Le Pen's party in France, where their origins are far right. They claim no longer to be far right, but they're the ones that are now winning across the board. Can you help us understand?
Well, I do not like the far right, as long as it is the far right. And frankly, I'm just not willing to believe that label as much anymore, because the people who bandy it out, sort of anybody who is to their right of you being far left is far right.
Now, this is the real problem, isn't it? Like, with the AfD, there are some members of the AfD in Germany that have said some properly dodgy stuff, which I would classify as far right. But given that I constantly hear people being called far right, including people I know who are on the left, I now no longer know...
Including yourself.
Including myself. And now I no longer know what it means or whether it means anything.
Exactly, and that's the problem of the distrust in the mainstream media that we've seen over the last few years, where you don't feel you can trust what they're saying anymore because they're saying it with an agenda and not actually just presenting the facts. Now, it could be this Austrian party is far right, and that's bad, but the way that they're saying it in the newspapers that I read, or the article I read in The Guardian, was like, and the BBC was like, oh, they're far right because they're trying to control migration. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't make you far right.
No.
That makes you a realist about how society is moving forward.
And here's another problem, is that people will gravitate to whatever party is going to talk about the things that haven't been spoken about,
No,
right?
absolutely, and everybody has their own agenda, whatever it is. But I think we've lost the ability to basically give everyone the benefit of the doubt until they let us down.
Yes.
And so this, like you say, this far right, far left, you know, it's basically far right now is anyone that disagrees with my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's not very helpful, is it? And of course, the migration issue for a long time, people have just been branding people racist if they even raise the issue.
Yeah, and I think people are just putting their heads in the sand, and we've lost our sort of ability as well to sort of just trust our own intuition and our own experience around us. And if people are genuinely feeling that things are changing around them and that there is a noticeable difference in their day-to-day life,
yes,
and they're beginning to show concerns about it, even if you just start with a gentle question, if that is immediately slammed down with, oh, you're a far-right racist, you go, oh, well, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, it's a real
and
problem.
Well, it's dangerous and it's unhealthy.
It absolutely is. OK, well, let's get a question now from Jeff.
Hello,
Jeff.
Andrew.
Hello.
It's been reported that some self-defining non-binary customers have been offered compensation by a firm because they've been asked whether they were male or female on a form or something.
Yeah, they were angry about it. And there were two firms, actually. It was Money Supermarket and TransUnion, and they've been forced to pay because they asked customers what their sex was. I mean, that's not that offensive, is it?
I don't know if it's about being offensive. Genuinely, when I read that, I was like, actually, if you go back to the Mr. and Mrs. question on a thing,
yes,
I didn't take offence, but I don't want to necessarily have a prejudgment. Yeah, so I still use Ms. and I still use my non-married name, don't I? I use my single name. And so the MX, I do think, is quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, I should clarify. The customers wanted to be known as MX.
Yeah.
MUX.
So you've got Mr. and Mrs. and you have Mr. and Mrs. and MS. And I actually don't see any problem with MX. And I'll tell you for why, because there was a study done that was interesting in terms of people's initial judgments from things.
Yes.
So emails were sent with a woman's name and the same email was sent with a man's name, and the proportion of people that replied to the one with the man's name rather than the woman's. So if you're just giving a heads up without what your sex or gender is,
yes,
I think it's quite nice to just put in anonymously.
So, Josh, would you be happy if I call you Mux Howie?
No. Yeah, straight. No, I mean, I think it's a lot more serious than that. And I agree that there is something for blind sex associated, certainly things where... But then when it is something, in this case, insurance, where we know, you know, women drivers... No, joking. But when it makes a... Going to lose any allyship there.
We've lost every female
let's just say,
viewer.
Men or women, if it's young men, then you are going to have, worst case, you're more likely to be into an accident. The point is, sex makes a difference when it comes to car insurance. It just does. I'm sorry, and let's not get into
it makes a difference to accidents as well, because women
don't have many accidents.
Well, no, they do. Well, they have worse accidents because seatbelts are not designed for women, are they?
There we go.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let me make another point, Jojo, just to counter it a little bit. So the Ms thing, I think, is right, because what Miss or Mrs. did was... force people to announce their marital status,
yes,
right?
Yep.
But what MUX does is it implies that there is such a thing as being neither male nor female, which is not true. So it's an idea. It's a statement of ideological intent. So why should it would be like, I think, an insurance company saying, "What religion are you? You know, you must put your religion down, or whatever it might be." You know, and I'm not sure that they should be compensated for being asked a question which is legitimate, I think.
And, I mean, yeah, I see your point in that, and in terms of, you know, the statistics, when you break it down to just male and female and teenage runaways...
Yes. But you think insurance companies shouldn't know your sex?
Well, I think it does give... It's that absolute thing of going, well, if you're a man, you're likely to drive faster, or if you're a woman. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a
about the
brilliant
statistics, isn't
There's
it?
a brilliant joke about the Zoe Lyons did going, you know, be very careful when you read those adverts. One careful lady owner, you know, she said, yeah, this one lady, careful lady owner, drove for a half an hour with a handbrake on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like...
To be fair, I've done that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I say something? Sorry, this issue actually, I think has gone slightly squiffy in that it's exactly what you're saying is this is the non-binary, which is not real, being given legal protection. And that is a real problem now because they are they've been given under the Equality Act in 2003 there was something to do with finances. There was some court case a few years ago.
But non-binary identities aren't prected under the Equality Act.
Well, but this is why it is. Like they're saying this court case says it is,
Or
and
it
this
should
is.
be.
Or it should be, which sets more precedent so that people could just... So it's just made up. It doesn't exist, and now it exists in at least some part of law, and it's a creeping situation.
Yeah, I get what you're
here.
saying, and you know, it's not just about Money Supermarket, is it? It's about
Everything's about Money
there are broader
Supermarket.
issues at stake. Right, we've got a Rupert in the audience, which I love because we never have enough Ruperts.
Rupert, you haven't got the
Great
trousers
name.
on.
No, I know, but it's true. But it's a good name, Rupert.
Right, I'd like to ask the panel. There's a story today that the Home Office are trying to prevent the Terror Investigation Unit to look at misogynist children and bring them under the Terror Act. And I wonder what the panel...
I'm all for it.
Well, Jojo, is it terrorism for Josh to say the things he does?
No, because it's again, it's an opinion. It's whether you act on it or not. And interesting again, that article said teenage boys.
Yes.
I mean, girls are misogynist as well. Do you know what I mean? So do teenage girls come under that banner?
No, but if a teenage boy says, or Josh says, women should be in the kitchen or they can't drive as well.
I agree. No,
By the way, I should point out I'm the one who cooks at home.
Yeah, exactly.
And you cook for a lot of children.
I do.
So, you know, it's no mean feat. But I mean, should we really be involving a counter-terrorism unit in school children at all? I get very nervous about this full stop.
Well,
you know?
this is it. We're getting back to that whole, you know, what you say and what you actually do. And, you know, so if somebody, you know, have we lost the sense of humour? And we talk about this all the time. If somebody said, oh, a woman's place in the kitchen, as a joke, we can't define what a joke is anymore.
Yes.
So if that's now going to become, you know, I mean, it seems like absolute, again, just such an explosion
Well, so
of
here's the
emotion.
difference, I think. Like, so, Josh, I think if... You know, as you know, I was a school teacher. I think if I would have spotted signs that a child was coming from a family who were, I don't know, radical Islamic fundamentalists or whatever it might be, there should be some way that I could pass that information on if there was some sort of danger there. But if a child says something sexist, I, as a teacher, am perfectly well equipped to challenge that in my own way without involving the state.
Absolutely. Yes, and I think that there is an issue with misogyny amongst young boys and men, and it grows up to them being young men, and it can come out in terms of violence and whatnot. It's a problem. It's a real issue. It needs to be dealt with by teachers, by getting in there. But this Prevent was set up as an anti-terrorist organisation, or to prevent it, particularly Islamic fundamentalism. Already there was a report coming out last year that said that they've lost their focus, they've moved on to other forms of extremism and stuff like that. Now, if that's important and that's where all the people, the reason they're getting killed is because for those reasons, cool, but that isn't.
No, but it never is. But all these things are always weaponised. I mean, I'll give you an example. Later on in tonight's show, I'm interviewing Reverend Dr. Bernard Randall, school chaplain, who was reported to prevent the counter-terrorism unit because he gave a sermon to the school on identity politics and suggested you should be able to think about things from all sorts of different angles. And he was reported as a potential terrorist by the school. My point is, and I think Josh's point as well, is whenever they set these things up, good intentions, but then they get weaponised.
No, but
all
good
sorts of
intentions,
political
but
points.
also, again, actually, I'm going to ask Josh, really, in terms of, I know you're saying, you know, misogyny is a problem, and it is, you know, young people, and the sort of Andrew Tates are always quoted. But again, my experience, you know, I've got, you know, 21-year-olds and 23-year-olds and their friends, and young men I know, that sounds awful, I know a lot of young men, no. But young men I know are probably the most polite, respectful, charming young men that I've come across for a long time, friends of my daughters, so that's
no,
not my
I think that's the same too, but that's not to say that there aren't people raised in misogynistic households or with domestic violence who complete those
teachers can handle
patterns.
it, Josh. Well, I honestly think that.
No,
I don't think teachers and parents.
I do too, but I think teachers, combined with some sort of lessons or something, I don't know, which could teach them about, you know, they get, when they're teenage boys and they just get stupid but to direct those energies better.
But teenage boys are always going to be stupid. It's their hormones.
Well,
They're
of course,
stupid.
Well, directed a bit, but certainly they don't need to be reported as terrorists.
OK, let's move on to Ant. Where is Ant? Hello.
Good evening, panel. After yesterday's terror march in London, should Mark Rowley, the impotent Met Commissioner, be made to carry a I Love Hezbollah placard and transferred to a terror tunnel in Hezbollah's Lebanon?
Well, given the way you phrased that question, I think I know where you stand on this issue. So we don't need to. But it is interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, we saw marches yesterday in London, also in Dublin, and we actually saw banners openly in support of Hezbollah and also in support of Hamas. I mean, it boggles the mind. I don't know where you even begin with.
These marches have been going on for a year. They've been going on before Israel even went into Gaza, before they'd responded to the 1,200 people murdered, the 250 people who were kidnapped. People were out on the street celebrating these organisations, terrorist organisations, and it's terrifying that it's taken...
Which is illegal in itself.
Which is illegal. The police instead arrest the person who's got a poster saying Hamas are terrorists.
Yes.
And they are and have just sort of ignored all this other stuff for the past year, and the chickens are coming home to roost because it's emboldened them, that they feel like it's acceptable. But the other crazy thing is that you've got people who consider themselves the progressive left allying themselves with, or even carrying these posters themselves, of organisations, terrorist organisations, who stand for the control of women, the covering of their hair, homophobia, as well as, of course, anti-Semitism and whatnot. So it's mental.
There's a real kind of I'll be talking to Brendan O'Neill about this later, but there's a real failure, a real demonstration of moral cowardice or a moral failure to understand this situation. And I don't, one of the points, I mean, where Josh mentioned, Jojo, the way in which someone holding a sign saying Hamas are terrorists, they're the ones that are arrested and they're pulled away for their own safety. But I would have thought that anyone who genuinely cares about the Palestinian people would be the first to condemn Hamas. 100%. Why aren't they doing that?
And I honestly don't know, and I'm with you, Josh, not in any way the way you must be feeling. It is mind-blowing that the people around me, again, we've gone from the knowledge of the absolute barbaric behaviour long before this, just in everyday life. There was no wars, just the treatment of women in Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, everywhere. We have not had knowledge of this ever since I've been alive. I've been fearful of the way that other women have been treated in other parts of the world that break my heart. And to then see that be not only completely forgotten, but basically backed up, going, what are you freeing Palestine from? Because it's not the Jews, it's not Israel. They were under... Hamas have got the most horrific record in looking after their residents. The money that they've been given from countries, Lebanon, all that Iran has supported them, has not been used to protect. So, OK, let's have it their way, OK? Let's get rid of Israel, let's free Palestine and watch those poor